Hello, everyone, and welcome. It's Shanna. Now, the other day I worked with this January Betterpress of the Month Club kit, and I didn't use the stencil on it. So this is called Take Flight, and what I'm going to do is use the Betterpress on the butterflies. I'm actually going to do the sentiments as well, and then I'm going to use the coordinating stencil to go with it. When I was working the other day on the video, I didn't think about the stencil, and so I just wanted to circle back around and use the stencil. These club kits are still available, and they haven't shipped yet, so you can certainly get in and get one. And I'm getting the Betterpress, the Glimmer of the month, and I'm also getting the clear stamp and die of the month. And I did use the Glimmer and the clear stamp on that card that I showed you. Today we'll just be using the Betterpress, and I am going to use the clear stamp of the month and dies for my sentiments, even though I've got these on here. I actually run this through, I press this twice and I mess up the sentiments, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. So what I'm doing is just inking them up, and I'm just going to lay some cardstock on here and just give it a press. Now, I'm out of my cotton cardstock, so I'm not going to get as deep of a press as I would get, but I'm just using some good paper that you can blend with. And I see that the upper corner of my butterfly did not ink, so I'm going to do it again. And you can do this twice. The problem with this was I was pressing pretty hard with my ink pad, and I slightly moved the sentiments and even maybe the butterflies a little bit, because the antennas, or whatever you call those, I had like a little bit of a double press on there, but I have a quick fix for it. I won't be able to use the sentiments, but we can certainly use these butterflies and not waste this. Now this is, handmade, and it's crafting, and so you have these problems, and there's just ways that you can overcome them. And that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to work with the butterflies, and I'm not going to use the sentiments. I'm going to bring in just a very fine pen and just go between those two lines and close it in, and then you'll never know that it was that it got, just moved just the slightest, because you can't even tell in anything else but just the I don't know, antennas or tentacle. I don't know what you call those things. But anyway, so we won't worry about those sentiments, but we are going to use this stencil and get this thing colored up. Now, I'm just bringing in a 4-pack of minis from Altnu. We've got a raspberry blush, a light pink, and I think maybe a strawberry. Really pretty colors. I'm just going to use the 3 darkest colors. The lightest one I'm not going to use. This is a 3-layered stencil. So I'll just lay the lightest one aside, and I'm going to start with that second one, and I'm just going to add color. And I was really glad I chose this set of inks, because it turns out really pretty, and I really like it. So the butterfly that's laying off to the left, I don't know if you saw that video or not. I just took and used kind of the same rainbow colors that I used to blend that panel, and then I glimmered the panel, and then I used the clear stamp and die of the month to just die cut out that smile. But today I'm going to use the stencil, and we're going to color just right in the areas where it should be, and I think it just turns out lovely. It's very easy to line this stencil up. And, they're not lined up to where you can lay the stencil on both of them at the same time. You're just moving it around. I suppose you could, hold your stencil up to your plate and try to line them up, but I didn't worry with that. I'm just going to move my stencil as I need to. I didn't even clean it in between, and it seemed to work out all right. I had a couple spots on, some white areas of the panel there, but it wasn't anything that I was worried about. And I didn't even tape it down. These images, or these areas, are small enough that I felt like I could just hold them down with my fingers and keep them from moving, and it did well. And I'm going in both directions, blending, trying to get a really good blend, so it worked out really well. And look how those are just coming to life. I love these inks, and I think it makes them look beautiful. And so we're just going, from light to darkest with our inks. I will link all the materials in the description box below so you can check it out. And if you consider shopping with those links, it does help support my channel. I do a daily video, and I have to come up with a lot of different content to kind of have some new and interesting things. So it does take a bit to do that. And by shopping with the links, it lets spellbinders know that I'm working with their materials, and then they continue to send me materials to work with. So that is helpful to me. So we'll get this blended in, and I think these butterflies are going to be gorgeous. And there we go. Aren't those pretty? I think they look just so pretty and vibrant. Love them. So I'm going to clean up my mess, and we'll come back and we'll get to working on our card. So next, I'm just going to grab the coordinating dies, and we'll get them laid down on here, and we'll get these die cut out, and then we'll be ready to start working with them. And like I said, the sentiments shifted and they're unusable, and that's just fine. It's just part of crafting. Sometimes things work and sometimes things don't. Just going to use some washi tape. Sometimes I can be lazy and not use the tape when I'm die cutting, but these are so gorgeous. Want to make sure that I get a good cut on them. Now, these are small enough I could probably cut them apart and run them through the scout, but I'm just going to bring in the Spellbinder 6 and just lay them on the big panel and just run through them and die cut them out. So we'll bring in the big dog here and just run them through that. That thing is heavy to move it back and forth. That's why I like having that scout. Sometimes I'll just go off camera and just die cut them out just so I don't have to move it, because it is kind of heavy. So we'll pop these out, and I think they look really, really pretty. And aren't they stunning? That color palette from Altenew is just beautiful. I need to get some more of those minis where they're the colors are together. Now I'm bringing in some not too shabby paper that is simply gorgeous. It's their current Valentine. I need to look up the name of it, but I will link it in the description box below. I'm actually doing a KCC set of 15 with this paper, and it's lovely. I've got the first 3 done on a video that's going to run this weekend, and then I'm going to start running the rest of the set so that I can show you this paper, because it is fantastic. This is actually the back sides of the paper that I'm using for this. I use the other side for the set of 15. So what I'm going to do is bring in some Spellbinders Fern, and I'm going to use this embossing folder. I embossed it. I'm going to show the debossed on this kind of darker, more vintage pattern. And then on the lighter, I'm going to use the embossed side. And that is the January embossing folder of the month by Spellbinders. It's got the heart with the little lines through it. I'm going to just get me some card bases ready to go, and we're going to start assembling the cards. I'm going to make one a little more vintage, a little more rustic, and the other one will make it a little more clean and crisp, I guess is what I'm going to say. So we've got our card bases ready. I am going to use my bone folder and run over the edges of both of those. I always like to do that. It just gives it a better press. I'm going to lay this embossed or debossed panel. I'm going to have the debossed side up just so it'll be a little bit different look. And we'll get it glued up and laid down on there. So I'm just bringing in my glue press, and it's clogging on me again. So I'm going to have to stick a pin in it again and get it running. And then we'll get this panel laid down on our card base. I think I just need to switch out and just go with the broader nozzle and just give up on that fine-tuned tip nozzle with the Barely Art glue. I might order some Noville glue and see if it works better in there, since it was designed to go with that. So now I am going to look for a die, thinking that I would like to use a die to create my panel, and then I actually wind up deciding against it and just decide to cut it. So I'll cut this down first. I think I go to 3 3/4 by 5 is what I start out with. And then I decide that this paper, and it just kind of gives me a rustic vibe, and I decide to tear it. And I'm kind of doing it's pretty thick paper. This Not Too Shabby paper is great paper, and it's pretty thick, so I'm having a little bit of trouble tearing it. So I'll just keep working away at it and get it torn, and then we'll kind of have a rough look on our card, and I think it suits it well. So and if you hear any background noise, it's my husband and my son-in-law. They are trying to get our garbage disposal replaced. We had a leak yesterday I think I even mentioned that on my live Sunday night. We had water and we had a leak, and we found out it was coming out of our garbage disposal, so they're in there trying to get it fixed. So now I'm just bringing in some vintage photo distress oxide, and I'm going to use a brush. I thought about just kind of running my paper along the edge of it, but the brush is what worked best, and I just was able to darken up those edges and make this look very vintage and just look like a piece of vintage old paper. I think it's just gorgeous. And then I'm going to bring in antique linen and just cover up the white that is on my butterfly, because I think I want it to look more vintage. And I started doing the edges with it, and then I think I decided ultimately to go ahead and just use that brush and put some linen, antique linen on there, and just darken it up a little bit. And I noticed that I was getting a little bit of ink on the black stamped part of the butterfly. And so then I know that, when I get done, I'll just take my paper towel and just wipe that off, and it'll rub right off that stamped area, and it won't be a problem. But I will have darkened up that white around there so it's not so stark. And here I'm just going to rub it with my paper towel and get that ink off the black areas. Clean up my desk, and then we'll start assembling this panel. And I decided to use the fern because there is some green in that pattern paper, and I thought it would pull it out nicely. And so that's what we're going to do. And now I'm just going to add some foam tape. I'm kind of out of my wide foam tape, so I'm going to have to get some more of it. Just using these small pieces, I'm just going to lay it down on there and just add a little bit of dimension on this. I thought it would be nice to have a little bit of a shadow behind this kind of tattered paper that we're using. For a while there on my channel, I was having fun kind of doing some distress type things, and I haven't done anything for a minute, so I thought it'd be fun to kind of do that with this. I thought it'd be pretty. I don't know, that paper just kind of spoke to me as vintage, and I thought it'd be really pretty. And it might even be called Vintage Valentine. I can't remember what the name of the pattern paper is. So we'll pull off those backer strips and we'll get this laid down on there. So we've popped up our panel and our butterfly, and I think it looks really pretty. And I really don't think you need much else on there. Now I'm going to leave this aside, knowing that we're going to put a sentiment and some embellishments on there. And I'm going to get this second card assembled, and then we will put the sentiments and the embellishments on the two cards together. And I'm having trouble getting this lined up, so I'm going to pull it off, lay it back down, and line it back up. And I've got a little bit of an edge on there, so when I bring my paper trimmer in to cut my paper down, I'll go ahead and trim that little white edge off of there. And I decided to do that first, so we'll just run the guillotine across there, pull that white off, straighten it out, and then we're going to cut this panel down. And I think I go 5 1/4 by 4 on this one, because we're just going to show a little bit of the pink, that's essential cardstock dahlia that I'm putting behind there. And I'm just going to have a little edge showing. And I was looking at that when I turned that paper over and saw the pattern that was on the back of it. I thought I'm going to use those strips and kind of add to it, just to add a little bit more interest to it. These are very simple cards, but I think the stenciling on the butterfly looks wonderful. And I was just trying that strip out on the first layer, and then I decided I'm going to add it on the second layer. And then I thought maybe I should try the thinner one. Should I go with the thinner one or the thicker one? So I decided to go ahead and go with the thicker one. And I'm going to glue it down on the panel first, and then I can just trim it before I lay it down on there, because it wasn't cut to the right length. That panel, the dahlia panel there with the embossed, it was actually a scrap that was just laying. And so I grabbed it, knew I was going to use it, and then I decided to grab another dahlia to put behind there, and that would kind of bring it all together. And I think it looks just lovely. I had to pause there for a minute. My husband was yelling across the house at me, "Do you want me to pour you a bowl of soup?" He just made chili. And oh my gosh, the house smells awesome. His chili's fantastic. So I paused and I ran and told him, I said, "I'm doing a voiceover, but yes, I'd love you to pour me a bowl of chili." So I'm looking forward to that. Anyway, so we'll get these strips pulled off of here, and we'll get this laid down. So we had the chili going before my son-in-law showed up to help work on the garbage disposal. So my husband's got 2 projects going on out in the kitchen, the garbage disposal, and he's cooking. So anyway, I'm just looking at these sentiments, trying to decide which ones I want to use. I'm going to I'm going to choose a couple of them that have, just flying by or just fluttering by or whatever, to say hi or whatever, and use them on the card. And since we have the butterfly, I thought they'd look great. And so I'm going searching for some paper that I want to use for this. And I brought in 3 different. I brought in Dune, Portobello, and the Alabaster, thinking that I might need the Alabaster for the lighter. And then I thought the Dune would look really good on the kind of antique card. I'll wind up stamping both of them on the Dune, and then I'm not satisfied with the Dune on the lighter colored, and so I'll just grab some white scrap, and we'll redo that. So I'm going to bring in my Misty and get these 2 things stamped up. I'll just use some VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink and stamp these up. It's a good juicy pad that gets a nice dark inking. And we'll get these stamped and ready to go. And really 1 press and we were good. So I'll go ahead and get the dies for this, and we'll get these die cut out. And then we'll get them laid down on our card base. One thing that's cool about the Clear Stampin' Die of the Month is it's got these scripty ones, and then it's got some bigger, bolder, a bigger, bolder smile that has a real nice die to cut the smile out, and then there's a hugs too, I believe, and these are really nice. So you can have some scripty sentiments or some bolder sentiments. And I'm having a heck of a time trying to find the one that goes on the top one. I'm just looking at all of them, turning them around, trying to figure out which one goes. Process of elimination. It has a double loop-de-loop there at the bottom, so I needed to look for that one. So we'll bring in some washi tape so that we can get them taped up so that I can get them die cut out appropriately. And even though I won't use the Dune one for the lighter card, I will put it with my die and keep it, and I can use it later for something else. So here we go, and the Dune looks really good on the distress card, and I suppose it could pass on the lighter one, but I just decided that I wanted to go ahead and I'm going to use this paper here because I had some that didn't get stamped on it. Actually, 2 pieces. One side of that's got a dot on it, so I'll flip it over and I'll stamp on it. And then I kind of squished it, so I'm going to actually stamp it twice, and then we'll die cut out the second one. It had a little piece of stamp that was hanging off there, like just an extra little piece, and I just pulled it off. And I think when I went the second time, I kind of pushed a little hard. So I'm going to bring in another piece of that white paper, and we'll stamp it again. And then we'll die cut out the second one, and we'll use it. And it'll be good and clean. So we'll line that die up again, and we'll go back to the die cutting machine. And then we'll have the sentiment for the second card. And I like it better because the butterfly has the white edges. Had I distressed the edges around the butterfly, I think I could have used the Dune on that second card. So we'll just get these sentiments glued up and laid down on here, and then we'll find some embellishments, and we'll embellish these cards, and that will pretty much finish them off. So I really love this press plate with a stencil. I love that Spellbinders is doing that with the press plates because you get a really crisp result. I think they turned out nice. Now I just went to my stash and I grabbed some pink and Maine enamel dots for this because they were the color that I had that matched, I thought matched best with what I had. So this card is really a mixture of products because we've got the Not Too Shabby paper, we've got the Spellbinders Betterpress, the Clear Stampin' Die of the Month, and then we've got some Not Too Shabby enamel dots. We do have the Essential cardstock is what I'm using. I've got Fern on the green card, and I've got Dahlia on the pink card. And I think they both look lovely. And then that will finish off our 2 cards. So here we goes the green, and here's the pink. Thanks for watching, and have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.